I've been studying Neville Goddard since I think 2005 or 2006 is when I first found Neville Goddard and became really fascinated with his work. And then I found Dr. Joe Dispenza's work in 2014, and I've really loved that work as well. So I would say of all the work that I've done over the years, Neville Goddard and Dr. Joe Dispenza have probably been the biggest influences on myself and my work and the way that I operate and create my life. And so someone that was in this course said he had been to a Dr. Joe Dispenza class, and he didn't quite understand the way Dr. Joe's work and Neville's work lined up. So I offered to support by talking about it. And I think it's really fun to kind of look at these two really masterful teachers of conscious life creation and how they intersect and how they're similar and maybe how they're different as well. So I'll share with you about this, and then at the end, I'll open up for questions and feedback. So just for starters, so you have an idea of who I'm talking about, Dr. Joe Dispenza he's alive. He's a teacher that you can actually read his books, go to his courses, and see him in person. He was born in 1962, and he teaches in the realm of neuroscience, epigenetics, and quantum physics. And he's a doctor of chiropractic, so that's where Dr. Joe comes from. And he really is passionate about healing, about teaching people not only to heal themselves, but also to do what he calls coherence healing, which is healing other people. And he's very passionate about taking the healing work, the coherence healing, into hospitals, children's hospitals in particular, and they're already starting to do this some, and it's no touch healing. So there's absolutely no physical touching. It's the coherence healing is creating a pattern of coherence around the physical body that allows the body to move into a coherent state. And so the really amazing thing about that is, so all disease in the body, in the physical, actually comes from an incoherent pattern. And this has been tested. He shares about this in his courses. There was a doctor that tested uterine cancer in women. And first of all, he found an incoherent pattern in all women who have uterine cancer. He found a certain pattern that shows, and this is pattern in the field, so we're talking energetically, they can measure this. So an incoherent pattern in the field of all women, and it's a certain pattern that's recognizable as uterine cancer once they were able to spot it. And so this pattern was there for everyone that had it. It was not there for most women who didn't have it, but they did find the pattern on some women who did not have the uterine cancer. And over the course of the study, which I don't know how long it was, maybe it must have been long-term, all of the women who had the incoherent pattern, who did not have the uterine cancer, eventually developed uterine cancer. If they did not have the incoherent pattern, and they didn't develop the incoherent pattern, they never got the uterine cancer. But if they had the pattern, they either had the cancer or they got the cancer. Now, what this did in medicine is, or for this quantum field, type of medicine, they realized that, and this doctor that was studying it, he didn't expect this because he thought that the uterine cancer itself was what was creating the pattern around the body. But what they were able to prove through the study was the pattern was creating the cancer. The pattern was there before the cancer. And so if the idea then is, what if we could change the pattern? Could we change the cancer? Could we change both the possibility of getting it, or if it's already there and we change the pattern, would it go away? And so this is the foundational idea that Dr. Joe started the coherence healing on. And what this does is it disrupts the pattern, the field of energy around the body. So these multiple people sending in a coherent field at the same time disrupts the incoherent pattern. And what he's found, what's happening is spontaneous healings are occurring. I think it's fascinating about the patterns of energy around the body and how the pattern creates the physical, and it's not the other way around. The physical is not emitting a pattern. The pattern is basically emitting the physical. So it gives a whole new concept of energy and frequency and creating with intention and imagination. So, those are kind of foundational elements of Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. And he also does lots of guided meditation and breath work. The breath work is specifically designed to activate the pineal gland. And so the breath work that Dr. Joe guides, it's very technical. It's about moving the cerebral spinal fluid up the spine, up the back of the head, and to make it agitate the pineal gland. And when the pineal gland is agitated by the cerebrospinal fluid, you get a pineal activation resulting in like massive gamma waves. The brain waves, they go into gamma, which results in mystical experience, massive trauma release. It can be this like spiritual ecstasy, like a massive experience of transformation. And that can look different for each person, but you can, when the brain waves, and they measure the brain waves. So you'll see like people at Dr. Joe Dispenza retreats oftentimes have the brain mapping, the brain cap on, and scientists with computers, but they've been able to capture this enough times. New scientists that aren't used to this, that haven't worked with Dr. Joe, think that it's a seizure when they see this. Looks like high beta, but what it actually is gamma, and it's totally coherent. And seizures are not coherent, they're chaotic. And the person is having spiritual ecstasy or a mystical experience or an experience beyond, the physical. And that's a lot of fun. That will keep a person coming back. I've done 10 Dr. Joe retreats now. I've had that experience, and it's amazing. It's really powerful. Mine was actually a heart awakening experience. I experienced that through the heart rather than the mind, which was really, really powerful. And I have had those gamma experiences, not being tested. I know what the experience feels like. And it's interesting too, when that happens, you can taste there's a certain taste, which I understand is the taste of DMT in the back of the throat. It's really interesting that and he commented on it, and other people have noticed it. Like there's a flavor of the experience, literally. So he is doing conscious life creation from science, from the realm of scientific study and measuring things, and he's really making groundbreaking science through the world of the quantum field, and merging that with neuroscience and biology. It's very fascinating to be a part of that. And so Neville Goddard is, he's also known as Neville. I often hear him just called Neville. He was born in 1905 and died in 1972. And he was an author. I think he wrote 11 books. Don't quote me on that. And many, 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 many lectures and speeches that fortunately are widely available online. So there's a lot of access to that if you look into it. Neville I consider him a Christian mystic, but kind of unlike any other Christian mystic out there. He takes the teachings of the Bible and translates them in a way that it's really about conscious life creation. And he just has this incredible way of taking anything, it seems like, that's written in the Bible and interpreting it from this perspective of being able to create your life with your imagination and with your intention and with imagining and putting yourself into the experience. So he doesn't believe in God as an external being, or, I don't think he necessarily believes, I don't know what exactly he believed as far as an afterlife, but he really believed that God is within, that we are the God, that Jesus is us, and that all of these things in the Bible are pointing to us going within and tapping in to this creative source and applying it to our lives in a way that we can create any experience that we want. I find that the two bodies of work really collide in a beautiful way for me. So I did this kind of compare and contrast just to sort of get it straight in my head. Well, Dr. Joe approaches it this way and Neville approaches it this way, but their bodies of work are actually very similar, because Dr. Joe also works into conscious life creation, creating everything from the source. And he even started saying in this last retreat I was in, especially when you're going into the healing experience, he's like, don't pray to God, pray as God. It's a distinction that he's recently asked us to do. We're not praying to an external source, we're praying as the source itself. And the prayer is the request for healing for this person. And Neville would say the same. He, maybe not in the same words, but he would say, you're not looking for an outside source to give you the experience you're looking for. You are being the source of that creation. So they're both getting into the being the source, creating from our own creative energy and having the experience of our design based on ourselves as the creator. While Dr. Joe uses technical things like breath work and guided meditation, actually, I don't know if Neville did guided meditation. I haven't actually heard that, but I know he tells stories a lot, and lots of stories, success stories that people were sharing with him and writing to him. And he includes those in his speeches. And I feel like the stories are almost like a meditative experience in listening to them. They're encoded with the information on how to do it yourself. So, and Dr. Joe uses stories as well, but Neville really goes deeply into the stories. Dr. Joe focuses on pineal gland. Neville, I don't know that he mentions the pineal gland, but it's very much similar in the conscious life creation aspect. And so what Neville teaches is to get into a state of imagining, and this would be a meditation, I think, of your own design, where you imagine a scene of an experience that you desire to have, and you imagine it in every detail possible. You want to put in the visual, the emotional feeling, especially the emotional feeling, the all of the tactile details. If you can imagine, the temperature, and what does, if you're wearing clothing, and what are you hearing, what are you tasting, what are you sensing, and then actually imagining a result from that experience. So if you're picking a scene of something you want to create, I just recently listened to one about a man who had written to Neville, and he wanted to win money at the horse races. So he had gone and bet on, he created this whole scene in his mind, exactly how it would go and how much money he would make, and seeing. So in his imaginal scene, he saw himself receiving the money from the teller in the exact amount that he wanted to create at the end of the horse race. and then as many of the details that could go along with that. And then he would rehearse that over and over and over, and until he was in it and he was thinking from it. So you're assuming the state of already excuse me, already having received the experience. You're in the experience. You're not thinking of the experience. So this man, wrote him and told him he did this for, I suppose, 2 or 3 weeks or however long it was. And then he actually did have the experience, and he actually received the amount of money almost exactly that he had envisioned. And so when done well, you are able to assume the state of being that you would have, that you would be in if you were actually having that experience manifest in your life. You're not thinking like, you're not in a bird's eye view of it. You're not like looking down at it or watching yourself receive the money. You're watching from your own eyes. You're not seeing yourself really, because you're looking from your own eyes, but you can see your hands in front of your face. You can see the check or the money that someone's giving you, and you can see the, like for him, the horse races and the sights and smells around that, and really experience the physicality of being there, and then rehearsing that and rehearsing that and rehearsing that and bringing more detail in, and really getting to the point where you know that it's true. That's already happened. And when you've got that sense of, yes, this is true, this has already happened, that's when it's going to manifest in your life. The stories that people wrote Neville went on and on and on. There's so many. Even one where he talks about, I love this one about a woman who wanted a hat. She saw a hat in a window. This is probably, I don't know, the 50s. And hats were a big deal, and she couldn't afford this beautiful fancy hat, but she saw it in a window, and just for fun, she imagined herself walking home with the hat on, wearing the hat, feeling proud of her beautiful, expensive, lovely hat. And she walks in her door, and I think she even takes the hat off and puts it on her little hat rack. And then, goes about her life. But she was really in the experience, truly feeling the joy of just having this lovely hat. And then she let it go. And then, I don't know, not long after that, a friend of hers, a woman who apparently was somewhat wealthy, called her, and she came over, and she's like, I have this hat, and I don't want it. I don't know if someone had given it to her. She's like, I'd really like for you to have it. It was the hat. And so she manifested her experience just by feeling that it had already happened. And so these are the experiences that people have. It's kind of, he wrote 11 books about it. It's kind of a simple practice. If you think about, if you just really immerse yourself in the idea of having already created the scene. You're wearing the hat, you're receiving the check, you're putting in all of the elements that would be present if you already had the experience. And quite often, you want to have somebody say something to you. He does talk about that a lot. If there would be a significant person in the scene of your creation and you're receiving the experience, what would one specific person present say to you that would be symbolic of your wish fulfilled? And then quite often that very person says that very thing, which really kind of puts the icing on the cake, like, yep, I created this. Because when it happens, oftentimes people feel like, oh, that would have happened anyway. And they forget that they actually created that experience. And it's kind of funny, like how it can seem so natural and sort of expected, unexpected, but natural when it occurs, that people forget that they actually did the work to manifest that experience. So back to Dr. Joe. He also incorporates this envisioning into his work. He uses, and he loves the technology, so he uses something called Mind Movies. Mind Movies was created by Natalie Ledwell and her partner, And so when you sign up for a Dr. Joe retreat, you get the Mind Movies app. It's an app where you create, it's like a visual movie. It's just 3 minutes or however long you want to create it, of slides of things that you would like to have happen in your life. So it could be anything you want, you know, it could be tangible items. It could be a house, a car, anything you want to manifest physically. It could be a relationship. It could be spiritual gifts. It could be opening up to be a channel, or, you know, whatever that is for you. Sky's the limit, you know, no limit. You just keep putting slides in. You put about, you know, 15, 20 slides in your mind movie, add music, because he's all about emotion and music that's going to get your emotion up. And then you watch your mind movie and you envision each of the slides as if it's already happened. And inevitably afterward, people will report scenes from their mind movie that have happened. And it's fun because I've done a number of these now. I have a lot of mind movies, and each time I do a new one, I take my old mind movie, make a copy of it, and then I take out the slides that have already manifested, and I add new slides in of new things that I want to create in my life. And so during this meditation, I had a mystical experience where I had been practicing several things at home for a while on that, from Neville style imagining. So I have a sequence I go through and this imagining that I do. And I saw the scene that I was creating in Dr. Joe's meditation, but then it was like this expansion, and I felt energetically, I felt my heart and my energy expanding out. And then I felt suddenly, I felt and saw the images that I'd been practicing with the Neville style imagining drop in one by one, dropping into my experience. And I had never put them all together before. And in this experience, they all beautifully matched and meshed and fit together in just this incredible way. And then I felt the feeling of being inside the experience of all of it at the same time. And then from there, this expansion of energy became a geometry, a complex geometrical pattern around my body, in and around. It was the experience. Okay, so the experience was a geometrical pattern. It has a frequency. And so the frequency, I was visually able to see and experience it as a geometrical experience. And the visual, the feeling, the emotional, the tactile, the actually being inside of the experience was what happened. And it was all of these experiences that meshed into one in a very surprising and beautiful way. And for me, it was the ultimate coming together of Dr. Joe's work and Neville Goddard's work in this moment, and realizing that's a life that I created for myself, that I was able to step into in almost like a parallel reality, but the pattern was overlaid. So I feel like it's leading me to very soon step into that new phase of my life. And it will probably happen in a way that feels so natural that I don't even realize it, because that's kind of how these things end up. They both contain mystical experiences. They both contain frequency. And while Dr. Joe speaks in quantum physics terms, those terms didn't exist for Neville. So he comes very close to the same type of language, but just within the context of the language that he had available to him when he was alive. And they both talk about outpicturing. So what you're experiencing internally is outpictured in your reality. And I've had a lot of my imaginal experiences manifest over the years, and it's very exciting when it happens. It's actually, you can feel it. There's a frequency, there's a feeling, there's a tangible, physical, emotional a frequency experience when it happens that it's just magic. But it's real. It's like it's being the creator and realizing we actually have that ability. And that's what we're here for when we're working as conscious creators. So I'm going to open up for questions. I loved sharing the work of two of my favorite mentors.
Thank you.
Yeah, let us know how it goes. I'd love to hear your success stories.
I will.
So that's your homework, everyone. Practice manifestation from already having, you know, like it's not from wanting, but from being in the creation, from being in the scene. So you're seeing it from your eyes and you're hearing it with your ears and you're feeling the feelings and you're inside, you're experiencing it from, you are inside of it, and rehearse that for, you know, Neville seems to generally say like 2 or 3 weeks, although it's not a science. I think it's from the space of really getting it. Like, yeah, I'm really in it. I really got this. And there doesn't seem to be a specific amount of time. Sometimes it's instant and sometimes it's years later. But practice and see what happens. And my vision is that we are creating the new earth reality together, that all of us who are contributing our vision of what we want this world to be, what we desire to see. This is why I buffer my mind and my thoughts so much from the outside world. I don't want to soak up and be influenced by the negativity. I choose to keep contributing to the vision of the new earth, so that, you know, there are pathways being created, and the more of us that are contributing to that positive vision, the more manifest it becomes. There's definitely a campaign coming through the, you know, the boxes to take us out of that vision and keep us at a lower frequency. So it is a choice to participate. So I challenge everyone to participate in creating that you want the world to be, with your conscious intention, and vision it and feel. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, you know, while we can't control what's going on out there, we can always control what's going on in here, and what we're thinking and intending and feeling and how we're responding. So that's where our work really is.
Exactly.
All right, guys, love you all. Have a beautiful
Thank
day.
you. Love you too. See you with Shayla.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.